How do you build an audience of 60,000 people on social media and sell all of your farm produce online direct to the consumer? Well, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Eden from Lancashire Lamb Boxes to find out exactly how she did it. So stick around to find out. I'm Sandy, this is Farm Stock, and I want to see more farm businesses succeed. This video is a great example of entrepreneurship, of thinking outside the box and growing through necessity, and I think it's something that every farm business can learn something from. This is Eden in her own words, so let's get stuck in. Now let's start by getting a little bit of background on Eden and her partner John, how they get into farming and what kind of farm they run. What I find really interesting is that neither of them come from a farming background, which gives them an alternative perspective. And I'm going to go and nip and get a brew whilst Eden tells you.
I met John, my partner, 7 years ago, and he had bought his first sheep when he was 9 and had built up his flock of sheep from that point. I reckon he was 18 or 19 when I met him, and he probably had about 100 sheep at that point. And two calves that he just bought, like a dairy cross calves. Yeah, I worked in a vet's, so I've always liked animals. And then when I met John, he had sheep, and I suddenly realised I actually quite like sheep, and they're pretty cool, pretty awesome. And I preferred sheep to dogs. So yeah, left the vets and got like normal jobs. I worked in supermarkets and pubs, and just because they paid better than vet. We didn't have this farm, so we were in Sussex, and we're now in Lancashire. But John's family, they have a bit of land. It's about 25 acres that's divided between lots of family members, but none of them actually farmed it. So John's great uncle used the farm, and it was his farm. And then when he passed away, the farm got split up, as they often do.
I get asked a lot of the time, how do you get into farming if you don't come from a traditional farming background or you're not going to inherit a farm? Well, I think this is a nice example of someone who's done it by thinking outside of the box and started small and built it up from scratch.
We moved to Lancashire just because we wanted to rent a farm, can't afford to buy one. So we moved here in August 2021. The farm had nothing on it, like no stock at all. And it's 550 acres with fell rights as well. So we sold our house and bought sheep and cows instead. We've put a lot of money into it, but we lambed 400 ewes this year, and we've got about 85 head of cattle, but that includes a lot of young stock. So we only calved 15 this year. And then I don't pig the pigs, we just have them to fatten them. So we just buy them from the market, fatten them, and then put them in meat boxes.
Like most farm businesses, when Eden and John started farming in Lancashire, they sold all of their produce through traditional routes, predominantly auction markets, and they were price takers, not price givers. And this is one of the key differences between selling through an auction market and selling online direct to the consumer.
So at that point, we'd never had any fat cattle, so we'd only ever had sheep, and we didn't have pigs at the time. So before we sold direct to the public, everything just went in either to the auction, like to the local livestock auction. And we also used to sell, when we were in Sussex, we used to sell some fat lambs, just like continental lambs, to a butcher friend of ours. But other than that, everything just went in the market.
Everyone has their own reasons for starting on social media, and the vast majority of people go on there to consume information or to get entertained. So I asked Eden, why did she start on TikTok? And this is what she said.
It wasn't really intentional. So my TikTok page originally was British Shepherdess, which it still is, but it comes up as Lancashire Lamb Boxes as well now. Yeah, so it was just British Shepherdess because I just wanted to be generic. I didn't want anyone to know who I was. I never put my name, my location, nothing was on there. It would just started because I would see all these vegan activist comments, and not a single farmer would respond to them with a genuine answer. They just told them they were stupid. And it kind of annoyed me because it's like, well, how can someone learn if we don't actually tell them? So that's how my page started, was just discussing with vegans about actually maybe use a bit of common sense and you can actually see the reality. Get out on a farm, don't just read a Google article written by another vegan.
The basis of any successful business is your ability to solve a problem for your end consumer. And this is exactly what Eden and John have done when they spotted a common question that continually popped up in their TikTok videos.
In November last year, I put a video up. I'd seen something Gareth Wyn-Jones, he had posted, and someone in the comment section, I can't remember it now, but basically it was along the lines of, but how can we even buy from farmers? I don't know any farmers. And it dawned on me that we ask people to support farmers directly, and we always tell them to buy directly off farmers, but they are thinking that they have to know farmers to do it. You have to find a farmer. How do you find a farmer if you don't know one? So I did a video on that, and I didn't want to sell anything, because if I was to sell something, that meant that I had to basically tell people who I was and where I was. And bearing in mind at this point, most of my following was vegan activists. I was very scared, and then everyone wanted to buy from me because that video blew up, and we thought, well, we're going to have to do something. So I went through my Facebook page that I had, because I've had a Facebook and an Instagram for Lancashire Lamb Boxes for a while. Yeah, I went through and I deleted anything that identified me, and then we would tell people where to go. And then I'd delete it once they'd seen it. And then it got to the point where I couldn't just delete every time someone asked me where to buy from, because there was like hundreds and hundreds of people at this point asking what our prices were, and it was mad. So yeah, we just decided that we'd just go for it and run with it, because you have to ride the wave. And I think had that not happened, obviously we wouldn't be where we are. But clearly the people on TikTok had been looking for supporting like British farmers. They didn't know how to.
So one of the key takeaways from all of this is, what problem are you solving for your customer? Remember that social media isn't about you, or it's not about me. It's about what you can do for your customer and what value you can give them. Now, this isn't just a story about building a large following on social media. The big benefits have come from their ability to be able to sell direct to the consumer, as Eden explains here.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of cash flow, I get money come into my bank most days. Most farmers, maybe, if you send stuff to auction once a week, then you're lucky in a way, aren't you? But most farmers wouldn't have income every day. They might have something going out every day, which obviously we do as well. But, in terms of having money coming in, and if something pops up, I know that realistically, if I do a TikTok live and I spend a bit of time pushing, then we will have money come in. So our quad bike broke the other day and we didn't have any money, and we're like, well, we can't go and buy another one. So we just did a few days busy selling, and didn't do the extra jobs around the farm. You just do your basic, kind of a bit like you run it as you would on a Christmas day sort of thing, where you do the essential things, but you're not going to go and put up a new row of fencing, or you're not going to go and trim the hedge. And obviously, like, our margins, I don't want people to think that it's all sunshine and roses, because our margins are better, but they're still not really what they ought to be. They're still very, and John and I were just trying to work it out just now. I'm pretty sure we'd probably, if you worked it out, probably on like £4 or £5 an hour for all the work that we do. So it's not minimum wage, but when we worked it out last year, we worked out as £1.14 an hour. So actually, we're earning 4 to 5 times what we were last year. and we put a lot of work in to get customers at the moment, but we're also getting return customers, in which case, on a day where I don't do any live videos, we're still getting orders come through, because they've gone, oh, well, we're running out of meat, let's get our order back in. And that's where it pays.
Let's summarise what she said there. Better margins, better cash flow, more control over the product, and more flexibility. I can't imagine there's any business in the world which doesn't want better cash flow and better margins. And these are just some of the benefits, as I highlighted in this video here, of selling your products online and direct to the consumer. On top of this, it provides much better flexibility in terms of money coming into the business and more control over the product itself. I put it to Eden as to why she thinks she's been successful on TikTok and social media. And I think through modesty, she said this.
I think we got lucky on the algorithm, I think, because for some reason, a lot of my videos seem to get a lot of views in a row. I don't know why. I think TikTok Shop wanted us to sell in the TikTok Shop, so whether they were doing something, I don't know. But I mean, it works because it gets us sales. So yes, it's a little bit, well, maybe not political, but it's a bit odd that TikTok, they only push us because they want to make money from us. But if they make money from us, we make money as well. So.
But let's stop it there. I disagree. I think these are the three key reasons as to why she and Lancashire Lamb Boxes have been successful on TikTok. One is Eden herself. Eden has become the face of the brand and the product. She's energetic, she's passionate, she's likeable, and it's made it so much easier to be able to build a relationship with the human being behind the company. Two is TikTok Lives. Lives are a feature on TikTok which enable users and content creators to go live and interact in real time with their audiences. Now, Eden is an absolute master at these. She does them all the time, and it's a great way to build a relationship and drive sales for the product. Number three, quite simply, I think it's good old consistency. A lot of this stuff looks easy and it looks like an overnight success, but it is not. It takes months, if not years, of hard work to build up to where they are now. Eden and John post every single day. They are live virtually every day and they reply to every single comment. It makes them present and they can build really good relationships and get the reach on platforms like TikTok. A lot of people, I find, think that they need to spend thousands and thousands of pounds on marketing, be it for adverts or for agencies, to get any success. And for the vast majority of small businesses, the budget just simply isn't there. And the beauty of Eden's success is that all of this has been achieved with virtually no advertising at all. It is entirely organic reach.
All we paid for, so in 3 years of running, so because obviously I was selling meat boxes when we were in Sussex as well, so that's included in this. I reckon I've spent of my own money in terms of social media advertising. I've paid probably £20 on Facebook, maybe 30. I've never put any money into TikTok, but we use gift money to occasionally push videos, although recently we haven't needed to. So that gift money now comes back into the farm instead. And we pay, just because it's kind of a nice thing to do and we'd like some more local customers, we pay in a local magazine for a tiny little article, which is, I think, less than £100 for a quarter. It's like nothing really. Yeah, and we don't pay people to do our posts for us. I know you can pay loads of companies and they'll make a Facebook post, but you just do it yourself. It's not perfect, it won't perform very well, but it's real, isn't it?
Not everyone is going to be able to replicate the success that Eden and John have had on social media, but when I asked Eden what advice would she give others in terms of getting on social media and starting a channel for their business, then this is what she said.
Just do it, because if you don't do it, nothing's going to change. Be brave. Be big and brave. You know, there is so many people that scroll through their phones every single day and they see content that they just don't care about, but they just scroll past it. And if it isn't interesting, people are pretty much just going to scroll past it. And if they're horrible to you, you can either block them or delete it. But most people aren't going to be horrible to you. So yeah, I think just do it, because what's the worst that can happen? People aren't going to be mean to me. People don't come up to me and say, oh gosh, your TikTok is awful. I think it's embarrassing, but most people are just really happy for us. I judge myself more than I think anyone else possibly could. So I know lots of people will be like, oh, but I don't want to go in front of a camera. I didn't want to go in front of a camera, but when your business is about to fail, you go in front of a camera, don't you? You know, businesses do well because they have to do well. And that, you know, I think we were in the position where we knew we had to do something, and we were presented with this opportunity, and we were like, wow, we know that the most trusted link in like the food chain, so to speak, is the farmer. We're the most trusted person in the chain, so why don't we put ourselves, put our face on things? It's a bit weird, granted, but you just go with it.
Eden and John have managed to switch their entire business from selling through auction markets to selling everything direct to the consumer online.
Currently, almost nothing goes anywhere other than through Lancashire Lamb Boxes. Almost nothing. It's just if we've got a few ram lambs. I don't really want to put ram lambs into meat boxes. At the moment, it's just stuff that we don't think is quite good enough quality. But in terms of good quality, basically nothing. We won't put our orphan lambs into meat boxes because a lot of them are continental and we are native breeds, and they're not grass-fed. So they're not the same product, so they're not applicable, if that makes sense. But yeah, in terms of like hill sheep, hill lambs, pretty much everything. Yeah, clearly people want to support British farmers, like definitely. Yeah, and Clarkson's farm helped loads.
So I wanted to dive deeper into the logistics and the operations side of the business and see how that works.
No, so we don't store anything. So we send them to the slaughterhouse, then they go from slaughterhouse to the butcher. We don't have to transport them. And then we're really lucky because where our butchers is, they've got like a separate area on the side that they don't use. So, and they're a small business, also farmers. Well, the person that owns it is a farmer, and then he employs 2 butchers to do the butchery. They don't sell to the public or anything. It's literally just for businesses. And so they've got this side room, so we now pack our orders in there so we can take them out of the chiller straight into the courier boxes. Then we take them to the depot and then they go straight out for delivery the next day. So yeah, once they leave the farm, they don't come back. I mean, so we package the boxes still, but the long-term plan is to be able to pay someone to do that instead, because we put a whole day aside for it. Well, I say a whole day, it's not a whole day, but that is what Wednesdays are.
Given the success of the business so far, let's find out what's in the pipeline and what plans they have for the future.
Yeah, so we've got cheese and honey from other local producers at the moment. The plans going forward is to partner up with some of our friends who farm just down the road from us and to sell. So they've got dairy sheep, so who want to make some halloumi and feta and sheep's milk, and then at some point partner up with a dairy farmer down the road and sell some cow's milk as well, and maybe go into doing the cheddar and everything ourselves. But realistically, that's a long way off, and the long-term aim is to be able to employ someone and pay someone to come and help on the farm, because we're in the limbo bit in the middle, and that's not fun. Yeah, it would just be nice to, when I'm doing a TikTok live, if someone can still be helping John, instead of actually now he's got to do it on his own and it's going to take twice as long, or he's going to put his back out.
I always like to get other people's opinions on what they believe to be the biggest problems and challenges in farming today and how they would go and fix them. And this is what Eden had to say.
So obviously I'm a non-farmer, so I come into farming as a non-farmer, and I think this is how it's done. So I think that's a bit of an issue. I don't know how you word that, but farmers do what they do because that's what typically their dad did and their granddad did. And I think that's not always the best way. Having come into farming and had to learn from everybody, you then can pick and choose. I think that kind of limits people a lot because, you have swale ales because you have swale ales, and that is what you have to have. I see it probably more now that we're on a hill farm compared to lowland farming. And then the biggest issue that I think probably is cash flow. there isn't enough money in farming, which then means that you can't then go and pay someone a fair price for doing work on a farm. You can't offer someone loads of money necessarily, because the money isn't there. And obviously there are farms, and they can pay people and they've got the money, but a lot of farms now don't have the money to be able to, or you're missing out on something, or you're paying your workers more than you pay yourself. And I think if you could change that, then it would look more appealing to work in agriculture, because at the end of the day, the reason I left the vets was because it didn't pay me enough money and I went to work in Tesco. And if I wasn't here on a farm, if I was working for somebody else and I didn't love it as much as I do, I would do exactly the same thing. Probably the way that we've found to change that is to bring money in from other industries, isn't it? So we're bringing money into farming from the public themselves. And so like we've got a shepherd's hut to put up, just like waiting on the planning permission for at the moment, which is proving to be a little while. But once that's in, again, that's another way for, realistically, it's not much labour involved in the shepherd's hut other than cleaning it. The booking system's all online. It's all fairly straightforward. That brings in £100 a night or whatever it may be. And that's money into farming that, okay, well, we've earned £100 a night by having the shepherd's hut. Well, that means that we can pay someone 60 quid to go and do this job for us. And then I think that's realistically the only way that I can see to fix it, unless the government support us. But I don't think that subsidies is difficult. So we've not had any subsidies come in because we weren't signed in, the farm wasn't signed into anything when we moved here. So we're now in a stewardship scheme, but we haven't been paid for it. So we've had to do what we've had to do without subsidies, which probably also pushes us again to then not spend more money on advertising and stuff and to push harder. Yeah, which obviously we will do at some point, but in the meantime we haven't. But I feel like the government should probably tax imports if we can produce it in this country. I think that would change things so quickly for the better. I think the more people are pushed, the more people will have to do it anyway. So it might end up fixing itself. It might be self-limiting.
So, from a non-farming background, starting small, building things up slowly and selling direct to the consumer, Eden and John have built themselves a thriving little business that is going from strength to strength. Whether your farm is owned or rented, whether it's 10,000 acres or whether it's 10 acres, this video and example demonstrates what you can do to diversify and improve your farm business. Be under no illusion that this is easy. It is difficult and it will take a long time, but look at the benefits that selling direct to the consumer brings in terms of improved margins, better cash flow, more flexibility and a better relationship with your end customer. And the beauty of all of this is that it doesn't have to cost you a fortune. You don't need to spend silly amounts of money on advertising or on marketing agencies. Start small and build it from the ground up. Go and give Eden and John a follow on TikTok at Lancashire Lamb Boxes, or one better, go and buy a box and see what the product's like for yourself. I will put the link for TikTok and for the website in the description below. Go and check them out.